Fucking professionals back at it.
This was a long time coming.
It's been it's been months and months, Lawrence. 5? 4 at least. 4.5. 4 and 3/4.
It was a lovely hiatus, but I truly missed you.
I missed you as well.
Today is Thursday, April 15th, 2021. This is the Producers Happy Hour, and we are finally back for our second season.
I know. I know. We said we'd be back on April 1st. Well, April Fools. We needed a little more time. But as we come out of this pandemic and are getting back to work, we're taking the show back to its roots. We're two producers on opposite coasts chatting over drinks about what it means to be a good producer, understanding that it is more important today than ever before.
Yes, and we want to hear from you. As always, we'd rather hear your voices than ours. So please join the conversation. You can do it by going to producershappyhourgroup.com, or you can email us at producershappyhour@gmail.com, or send us your questions, comments, or your ideas for the show, any topics you want us to cover. And best, send us a voice memo and we'll play it on the air.
We love voice memos. Also, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts because it really helps other people like you find the show. Plus, we love to be rated. Just let us know how we're doing.
And if you hate us, you probably have already left a review.
Exactly.
So, Christian, I wanted to, for our friends that are joining us for this new season, they don't really know us. I wouldn't imagine they would know us. So I want to tell them a little bit about you.
Welcome, everyone.
All right. So you're listening to, on the other end of this microphone is my producer, bestie, sister Christian. Since early 2000s, you've been producing jobs all over the world. You've worked with most of the major production companies, or all of the major production companies, as well as mom and pop shops. You're a whiz with both union and non-union jobs, commercials, promos, car shoots, beauty, basically every type of advertising content you can dream up. And you're a pinball champion.
Yes, 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
Lawrence, now you are an LA native with over 20 years of film production experience. You have produced hundreds of national broadcast commercials, feature films, experiential live events, TV promos, multi-camera live streams, and you've created your own immersive experience called the Alone Experience. Jesus, you've done everything.
You've done it all. Oh, I should say, people can reach you at sisterchristianproduces.com.
And if you're looking for Lawrence, you can go to lawrencetLewis.com. Yes, now that the majority of us are getting back to work, we want to focus on what it means to be a producer, and dare I say, what it means to be a good producer, and not solely concentrating on the effects and how to produce during the pandemic.
Yeah, I love it because, we spoke so much. How could we not last season about
it affected everyone. Exactly.
It affected everyone and affected us so much. So that's all we kind of really could talk about. The whole show just turned to that. And we should leave that to the journalists, the newscasts, the experts, because now we got to get back to work, and producing now is a tougher job than ever. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on what that means and take the show back to its roots and deliver some useful, delicious little nuggets of information to our listeners.
I love that. And I also think that we, as producers, basically figured out in a very short amount of time how to work and produce. So again, focusing on how to do that well really will be our main focus.
And, while we were gone, Christian, we've done a few things. I did a thing where I offered little 15 or 30-minute chunks of my time to people that are either new in the industry to get some advice on how to kind of get their career going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also chatted with industry seasoned pros that I just didn't meet. And just to say, hi, let's meet. I'm a producer, you're whoever, we don't know each other, let's chat. And that was really cool. I had a lot.
Yeah, it was like a LTL community outreach.
It was.
Yeah, but in a good, fun way,
Yeah, and you and I did a thing on WhereSpot where we did a Q&A.
Yes.
You chatted separately with some of the people that reached out to us.
That was so much fun because I feel like there's such a need for mentorship, or even some, being able to ask a producer a question that would have a non-biased, non-judgmental outside opinion about something that you're going through as a freelancer is a valuable thing.
And we want to continue that. We want to continue that kind of mentorship and offering our experience to people that might want it or need it, or people that just want to chat and meet a new producer. So we're going to start something called Office Hours.
Office hours.
And right now, if you want office hours with us, just email us, producershappyhour@gmail.com. But at some point, we'll put a link on the website where you can just book 15 minutes with us just to chat, say hello, ask a question,
Get some advice,
share a drink with us, whatever you want or need. So right now, office hours are open by emailing us at producershappyhour@gmail.com.
Yes,
how's that?
Please do. I think it's great.
All right, Christian, it's happy hour. So what are you drinking?
Well, today, since that's our first show back, I thought I would have my personal favorite, which is Coors Light. So I am having a beer. I also just spent some time in the South, so I developed my love for it again. So
we're all going back to
easy
our roots.
peasy. How about you?
I'm having a Negroni, and it's one of my staples. So I'm sure you're used to hearing me have it. Over the pandemic, we started doing a lot more cocktails at home. And a Negroni, for those of you who want to make one, they're dead simple. It's 1 part each, 1 part sweet vermouth, 1 part gin, and 1 part Campari on a nice big ice cube. Stir it up until the glass gets cold, and it's friggin' delicious.
Well, yes, I can attest to that.
All right, so tell me everything that's happened since we last had an episode.
Well, Lawrence, in full disclosure to everybody, the reason why we were 2 weeks late was I had a death in the family and I spent the last 2.5 weeks in Kentucky. And I can tell you that it was very interesting because I was able to, the internet was basically dial-up speed.
Wow.
So I couldn't really do anything to distract from anything. And my mom doesn't have cable. So as sad as it was, I was able to connect with a lot of family and do some manual labor around the farm and get really tan in the places that show, as you can see. What I didn't know was that, we've been living at a high anxiety level, I would say, since I started my career. Because a producer is a fast-paced thing. So for the last 2.5 weeks, not being able to, or not having the ability to do it, but also both mentally and physically. Physically meaning there's no, connections or internet, but mentally, no way could I have been on a job during this time. I realized that I need to take more time like that off from my job.
Yes.
And I think it only will make me a better producer because I will not be at that job after job after job pace that we were all doing.
Exactly.
So just take a moment. Remember that you enjoyed some parts, very minor parts of being off for at the beginning of the pandemic. It was, wow, we all were all able to take a deep breath. And I just had that again. And I realized I want that.
Yeah. And you need it.
I definitely need it. And to admit that was a big deal for me.
As producers, we don't like to admit those things. We don't like to expose our vulnerability and say, "Hey, I need some me time or some R&R or just some other project that's my own and away from the madness of what we do." But it's true, and I think that's what a lot of people learned last year. At least I know I did.
And I think too that we have to understand that we need to give ourselves a break. If somebody came to you, like say your production manager came to you and said, "Listen, I cannot do the next job. I need a break." You would be like, "Oh, of course. Yeah, no problem. 100%. I mean, do what you need and I will hit you on the next time." The next job, there'll be jobs. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you don't give that to yourself, you don't give yourself a break. So that was me. How are you, Lawrence? How's the last few months been?
It's been a roller coaster. It's interesting. Like you, I went back full force on jobs and right back into just the anxiety, the pool of anxiety that this type of work can create. So I took some time off in the end of the year, December, January, went back to work on a production in February, and have just been there's been a lot of holds, a lot of talk of jobs. There was a couple big ones that I turned down, and I'm bidding, and I'm on hold for 2 other jobs. So schedules keep
work
shifting.
will come.
I know. and I'm not afraid. And this is going to tie into my tip of the day. I am focusing more on my own personal projects, taking time off, and not getting so addicted to the rat race of taking every job and doing the next one and mine, and just having some breathing room in between because that you know if the industry isn't gonna change as we hoped coming out of the pandemic, at least
Do you remember those young dreamers we were 10 months ago?
Oh,
where
yeah.
we were like, maybe this is a chance to change things.
If it's not going to change, then the only thing I can control is me. So I'm going to change. And, and,
yes. Yes, Lawrence.
take care of myself a little bit more, and that will make me a better producer, just as you said.
Yeah.
On that note, Christian, it's time for tip of the day.
Tip of the day.
Tip of the day. We're bringing it back.
All right. What do you got? Give it to me.
So my tip of the day is exactly kind of what I was talking about. Just say no. the old. Isn't it the old Nancy Reagan?
The thing
slogan?
that we're told to never do, Lawrence.
Yeah, and I think back to our interview with Lisa Feldman, who said
Feldman.
we have been empowered now to say no, and when it comes to health and safety on set, when it comes to requirements for safety, that gave us a lot of power to say no, and I think it exercised that muscle for a lot of us because so much we're a slave to the yes, like we'll get it done, whatever it takes. And we went through a year where things weren't possible. Supplies were low. Businesses weren't open as often as they were. Things weren't safe. So taking that this year and applying it to exactly what we were just talking about. If a job doesn't feel right, don't take it. If the timing is off, if you have your own plans that you want to get to, assuming this is coming from a place of privilege because it assumes that you are doing okay financially, right? So I want to acknowledge that. But we owe it to ourselves to protect ourselves a little bit more. And sometimes that comes with not taking a job when you aren't mentally stable, because this has been a very challenging year mentally for a lot of people. And yeah, there is the whole money thing, that aside, but having the ability to just not be a slave to like, oh my God, if I don't take this next freelance gig, I'm never going to work again, or they're not going to call me again, or whatever.
Right, because they will.
Because they will.
But yeah, I mean, saying no can be liberating as well.
Yes.
It full disclosure yet again, everyone, but there'll be times when Lawrence or we will text each other something like this is and lay out the job offer that we just got to understand what it is and the impact, because sometimes you can't always see the impact of the job unless you run it by somebody else.
This is true.
My tip of the day, Lawrence,
is
ties into our show topic.
Okay.
Actually. And as we are getting back to work, I think that flexibility and reinvention are a couple of things that are important to keep in mind whenever we are getting back to work. And part of that is we, just came out of this spell. We can be anything we want right now.
Yes.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And then, but the flexibility, when let's say you are looking for work, I think you have to be flexible in who you are representing. Now that sounds weird, but you're representing yourself. So if you know your audience, say your audience is a 33-year-old agency producer, the way you represent yourself should be with that in mind. If you're representing yourself to a 60-year-old executive producer at an old school production company, they want to hear a completely different set of things that you're able to do.
Very true.
So even how you present yourself, whether over here it's, a series of texts, and over here it's an in-person meeting, you just have to understand the audience, and your audience is the person who's giving you work. They want to hear what they need, and that you can do it.
Exactly. Do you remember the days of resumes?
I refused for years to do one. And then when I did one, I was like, here's a spreadsheet of the shit I done.
Yeah.
I was so bad at it.
I've never gotten a job from a resume,
Uh-uh.
but I would have different resumes depending on the job. And I know that's more common now, but
Hmm.
and probably has always been common, but like it's exactly the same thing.
Same
You
thing.
have to reorganize who
Hmm.
you are, how you want to present yourself to better connect with that audience.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
say the job is a car commercial, then throw your 3 car commercials on your website or your resume first
yeah, exactly,
that you're going for. Say it's a
100%.
content job that, is docu-style run and gun, which
Yeah.
love
Oh.
those 2 words together. When you get called for a job, you're like, what, 40 grand? And so, but that's the thing. If you want the job, then you need to then talk about those jobs that you've done before and in those companies. It's just a little tip. Instead of leading with what you think is the best, lead with what they might think is the best.
And that takes us to the topic of the show today.
Yes. Oh, getting to work in 2021.
How do you do
Okay.
it?
Well, so a couple of weeks ago, we were invited to do a live Q&A with WhereSpot. Michael Port, Perry Schaefer, and Jonathan Shipman.
Yeah, so they were on the last 2 episodes of our podcast last year, and that's when we became friends with them. And it was one of many Q&As or Ask Me Anythings that we want to do because, like we were talking earlier, we love chatting with other producers. We love chatting with crew members, especially younger folks who are trying to establish themselves in the industry and are hungry for information because it doesn't come easily. Like I was saying that some of the virtual coffees I was having with some of the people were like, how do I know what a union rate makeup artists make?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you know? Like, how do we know? We know because we have all the booklets and pamphlets and things, and we're on Andrew Cologne's email list. It's you have to zoom out a little bit and realize that not all that information easily makes its way to some of the newer, younger folks trying to make their way in the industry.
Right. And even how do they find the information that they need to know, or what's, random, the things that we've always used our forums for, which is, CoPros and WhereSpot and other groups that are out there, but not everybody belongs to all of them. Education in our business is sparse. I know we've talked about before that it's learn as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not at your pace because you'll be hit with an issue that you'll be hit with something that comes up all of a sudden. And if you don't learn what to do in half an hour to 2 hours, then it may be to the job's detriment.
Yes. Yeah, that Q&A was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. But the question that kept coming up was, how do I get work in a year like this?
Yes.
We can't, there are no AICP parties to go to.
Right. And there's no, you can't stop by a production company and have a meeting with somebody. I mean, you can't stop by an ad agency. Like, nobody's in. And to be honest, there's a couple of different types of people out there right now. Some who are still staying home because, they've not been vaccinated yet or whatever it is. And then some who are out there and have been since last May.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to connect with both of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you had conversations with some people that we met on the Q&A. Did you have some tips for them about how they can, they're probably like mid-level, mid-career folks looking to
one was, and then a couple were, starting out a little bit. And I, my first big tip was that I think cold emails are awkward. And so any way that you can make them funny or memorable is the way to go. So maybe it's something like, hey, this email is shit and I know it, but please look at my work and I know I can do good stuff for you because I saw your website and I've done these 3 things. That is exactly what you do.
Yeah.
That, or, I remember about 4 weeks ago, I got an email from somebody. It was a woman who was a director, and she sent an email that said, hey, I heard you were looking for female directors. Here's my website. Thanks. And that was it. And I was like, okay, who is this? No, I wasn't. And thank you for sending, because 3 people that I knew at that moment were looking for female
Right,
directors, and I
exactly.
forwarded it along.
Yep.
If it would have been like, "Hi, my name is so and so, and I'm I don't know. I don't know if I would have gotten past the first 2 sentences, but the fact that she came at me with this, "I know you're looking for it, so here I am," and you're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
It was just great, and I think that if you can do something like that to distinguish yourself, I think you will cut through some of the automatic deletes that happen in our lives because we receive hundreds of emails a day.
We are in a creative industry, and most of the people
Yes.
that we spoke with that are looking for work or looking to progress in their career are in creative positions. Like, let's utilize that. I know a lot of people want to put up a website and think, okay, my shingle's out there. The work's going to come, or look, I've done this great work. I have a good portfolio. Why is it not happening
Right.
for me? But like you said, you got to cut through the clutter, and you need to go back to basics, and got to let go of the pride
Oh, yeah.
and look at all that material and what is it really, really saying.
Hmm.
Just because you cut a 2-minute content piece for Honda in 2013, what is your approach to storytelling that is different, unique, and outstanding? And if your work on your website isn't showing that, recut all that shit. You don't have to just put the broadcast spot or the spot that went out. Get creative. Look at all the footage you have.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm speaking either to a director right now or to an editor right now. But reinvent that stuff. I did this when I was playing EP for a half a year in New York. That's what we did. It was all early career to mid career directors, very creative, very talented folks, but they needed we had to do something to get them to stand out. And so, we would take some of their stuff and just cut
Yeah.
a totally different spot, slap a logo and a voiceover on it, turn it into a 30-second commercial. And again, to your point earlier, when you're presenting yourself to different audiences, you got to think about who you're presenting them to. If you're trying to get advance in the 30-second commercial world, just commercial world, if you're trying to advance in the commercial world, your website needs to have your best 6 30-second spots, maybe 5 30-second spots on your landing page. Bam. Great. You shot, these longer content pieces for, whoever, Deere or IBM or whatever. If you're trying to get yourself in front of commercial execs and directors reps or advertising agencies for 30-second
They're not going
spots,
to
they're not
watch
going to
it.
watch it. But they don't care.
Mm-mm.
Now, if you've only got 30-second spots and you want to get into doc work, you gotta do some creative cutting or go shoot something on your own and put that
Yeah.
forward. And it's okay to have 3 different
Hmm.
websites. You might need it these days because, like we said, we're reinventing ourselves coming out of this crazy year.
We're freshening up. Let's say we're taking a shower, we're shaving off the beard, we're getting a haircut, we're having our nails done.
Exactly. So the other thing is, shake the tree, right? The money is already in your network, hopefully. Like if you're mid-career or even early career,
Hmm.
there's value in the people you know. And I remember when I was young in this industry and we were
Right.
really way pre-Zoom, but we were just barely using email. I would just go to lunch with people
Oh,
with
yeah.
zero
Oh, my God. Lunch.
expectations. Zero
Hmm.
expectations, just going out to lunch with people, calling up old friends,
Reminding people that you're out there.
just reminding people you're out there.
Yeah.
And now
And
now it's getting easier because of course, you know, outdoor dining and restaurants and bars are opening up.
Well, yeah. And I think that, Lawrence, a well known industry secret, as they say, is that's what production companies do to
Hmm.
market their directors.
Yeah.
They curate their what they want to show based on the boards that they received. It's a well known secret. So you should be doing that individual for yourself.
Exactly.
And I dare I say that if you don't have a website, you should.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
mean,
exist if you
I
don't have a
remember
website.
you and I were some of the first that had them out there.
Hmm.
And I can remember, it was so much, it was like skipping the resume. It was so nice
Yeah.
because once people saw, they could just go through and see the companies you worked for and the spots that you've done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that that is very valuable when it comes to production, but also I've seen websites for gaffers.
Yeah. Why not?
I've seen websites for key grips, because if you're doing some really cool shit out there, like motion control or anything that you are a specialty at, that only makes you more valuable.
Totally. And it's part of when I was prepping for the show, I kind of was looking up what makes a good freelancer. And this one blogger had these career resources for freelancers, and it's passion for the career,
Yes.
expertise and skill, and professional relationships. So the website falls under expertise and skill because that's your portfolio. That's your stock. That's your your inventory. That's what you're selling. And then Shake the Tree. Those are your professional relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to readdress the passion. Go back to basics. What is it you
Right.
want to do?
And I also wanted to say when I get sent a site from a production designer, a food stylist, I could go through the list here.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that I ever want to hear is like, oh, it needs to be updated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if it does, don't tell me, because I mean, I may be able to know when I see it, but you're already lowering my expectations.
Yeah.
So first of all, if you're busy enough to not update it, I get it. Pay a kid $200 to do it. All right. Second, or take the week off that you need and work on it. But secondly, don't tell me that you already are behind don't let me lose my expectations of you. You know what I mean?
There is a little bit of a thing, and maybe it's more of an LA thing than a New York thing. I'm not sure,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a little bit of attitude that comes when you do have to show someone's reel to somebody, and you do ask to see their reel of their work. They haven't needed to present
Oh yeah.
their pedigree in so long because they're so established.
Yeah.
And it's an insult to ask them for it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I have a website, but I don't update it because,
Right.
and the subtext is, I don't need it. I don't need
Right.
to update it. People know who I am.
And those people will wake up
Mm-hmm.
5 years from now and go, holy shit, why haven't I gotten a phone call?
Yeah. Because all the creative directors that used to,
Hire
you are retired or moved on. And now it's the new crop of 30-year-old, creative directors and producers
who have a slick new site,
who have their own website. They have
willing to work for less.
They have an 8-page treatment for their resume, and they expect you to. They don't know who you are. Just because you've had the storied career
Right.
and are very advanced, the people that hire us change out.
Right. So take the ego out, because believe me, I've had that ego before as well. And I definitely had it when I was a production manager. This was my line. Oh, do you have a resume? I'd be like, who told you about me? And they would say, and I would be like, do you trust them? Yeah. Well, let me tell you, I'm better than that. And whether I got the job or not didn't matter, because as a production manager, I was neck deep in work, as we say. But that said, that attitude won't last you very long, for sure.
No.
It won't.
No.
And it's arrogance, for sure.
Yeah, it really is. Well, we're not marketing experts, but I think we figured out a lot in this conversation.
I think so too. And I think that, understanding so our job is to sell you to, say, like you just said, the production designer who you've asked for, or whomever, the DP, whomever it is, our job is to market you as a producer. We're like a low level agent almost, because if the director does not have somebody they normally work with, first ADs, oh God, if you guys could have really good websites, that would be awesome.
Amazing.
It would be. First ADs, please. So please, may I beg you right now? Because if I'm showing you to a director, especially if they're younger, and they just want to know that you can do the work. Mm-hmm. Of course, they trust you as a producer, but what if it's my first time working with them? Help me sell you.
Help me help you. Yeah.
I mean, I would like to call myself a miracle worker, but there's some things that you just can't do. No, is the episode over already?
It is.
I missed this a lot.
Me too. I'm glad we're back.
Well, Lawrence, Producers Happy Hour was created with the help of Christopher Daniels, who is a treatment writer, and he also created our logo and branding.
And Kyle Puccia is a music composer, and he created our show music.
Thanks for listening. We're back next week. Be safe out there.
Send us your voice recordings or your emails to producershappyhour@gmail.com and join the conversation at producershappyhourgroup.com.
Lawrence, let those people out there know how to get you.
Yes, lawrencetLewis.com. Christian, how about you?
SisterChristianProduces.com.
Bye, y'all.
See you.